the person who probably spends the most time on Sailgroove and has the most comments, Mr. Craig Thompson, also sailing in 505s. So, after 3 days of racing, give me the rundown. How's it going out there?
Well, it's pretty breezy. I guess we got what we expected coming out here. Everyone knew it was going to be breeze on, and San Francisco Bay has yet to disappoint us. It's pretty brutal, but I'd say things are going well. It was tough to really know what to expect in terms of finishes, but we're happy hanging in the mid-30s, I guess, now, out of 100 boats, and haven't broken anything so far, so that's good.
Yeah, it's pretty huge. What kind of preparation did you do for the boat to make sure it, isn't going to fall apart on you?
Well, the 5.0 is kind of a constant, preventative maintenance issue, I guess. You got to just replace stuff that looks like it's about to break and make sure hardware is properly installed. But JB Turney and I have both been going over our boats and just making sure everything's super bomb-proof before the event. We just rigged up a couple new carbon booms and spinnaker poles because the class just recently went to that. So just made sure that when we were doing those, everything was super solid and wasn't going to break in the 25 to 30 knots that we knew we were likely to see here. So nothing crazy, just trying to sail in as much breeze as possible before we came out here, and just making sure the boat was well looked after, I guess.
As we heard in the famous barbershop interview with John Lowe, who's driving this machine for you, you're pretty into the boat maintenance part. How long have you had your 505? How long have you been sailing in the class?
I got this boat like the end of the summer of 2007, and then JB Turney and I owned a boat before that, which wasn't that great, but just kind of a starter boat that we wanted to try out the 505 class, and kind of got hooked with that boat. Wasn't very competitive, so we both moved on. We sold that boat, and we've both bought somewhat older boats, but they're competitive boats. They're both a type of boat called a water rat, which is made in the U.S. here on the West Coast, and these boats just kind of last forever. My boat was built in 1981, and it's still super stiff, super competitive. It's kind of an odd class that you can still sail around in a boat that's older than you, 28 years old, and go out and sail in 30 knots of breeze and not have anything break. I think it's pretty remarkable. But
it certainly is. I mean, the hulls, it sounds like, have not changed. The rigging, as you mentioned earlier, does change and evolves over time. Can you kind of take me through some of the more recent innovations and changes, things that you got to keep up with?
Well, in 2002, I guess the biggest thing was the class went to a bigger spinnaker. The spinnaker size used to be limited to 5 meters. The length of the luff was limited to 5 meters, and now it's 6 meters. So now the spinnaker is up on the tapered section of the mast. It's much bigger kite in terms of area. But that all had happened kind of before I started sailing 505s. But that was a real big change for the class. End up sailing a lot more angles downwind, kind of more like a skiff, less squared back, I guess. As of recently, though, there's been a switch, or the class went to allow carbon fiber spinnaker poles and booms. And more recently, a lot of people have been switching to a double spinnaker pole system, where you don't have to actually manually put the spinnaker sheet in the end of the pole before you pull it out. That's something that we don't have. We still have the single spinnaker pole system, but we do have a carbon pole and boom. So, other than that, nothing crazy. The foils, I guess, have been getting smaller and smaller, more high aspect, so longer and skinnier blades. But nothing too crazy, just little things, I guess, as it goes. But it's really more of a true one design, I guess, than like an I-14 or one of these other more developmental classes. Not as strict as the 49ers say, but people do a lot of different things, but the boats end up going the same speed. It's really kind of just have the open rules. You can rig the boat as you wish, but nothing too groundbreaking, I guess.
It sounds like most of the major changes happened kind of before your time, but as you said, you're always replacing stuff in this boat, always working. Is it hard as somebody who's young and doesn't necessarily own his own company or anything like that to afford to do this and to have all the extra time to put into the boat?
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22 because you definitely need to have a cash supply to play the game. It's definitely the next level up from Vanguard 15s or something of that sort in terms of the amount of money it costs. And to get that money, you need to have a job, and then when you have a job, you don't have the time to do all the work on your boat. So it's kind of a balancing act. But that said, you can get into the game for the $10,000 to $12,000 range, I guess, on a competitive boat. Like an older water rat is a great entry option. In that ballpark. But it definitely, you learn a lot about working on boats and about what it takes to prepare a boat for this kind of level of competition. Because as you can see around the boat park, it doesn't take much in terms of lack of preparation to end up with a broken rig, a broken rudder, and that kind of thing just is a snowball effect. You break one thing and you end up breaking 10 other things, once the rig comes down. So the more you can prepare and the more you can have your setup dialed in, the more you're going to be racing and not fixing stuff in the boat park. So, like I said earlier, JB and I have made it away clean so far, and it's great to be able to pack the boat up at the end of the day and not be spending 6 hours after a long day of racing working on your boat. It's better to do that stuff in the winter.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the class is incredibly strong right now. We've got some of the best sailors in the world, former America's Cup sailors, Volvo, as well as world champions from this class from years and years back.
Yeah.
What do you see for the future of the class? Do you think there's going to be a younger talent pool, and how long do you plan on sailing 505s?
Well,
three-part question.
Yeah. I'm pretty pumped up. I think there's a lot of young blood. It seems like people are interested in the class. The cost is definitely a prohibitive thing, I think, but the people who are willing to take that initial financial commitment and get a solid competitive boat, it's going to last them a really long time. You're not going to have to buy a new boat every 2 years like you would in a lot of classes. It seems like there are some good recent college grads who are taking that step to go out and get a good boat and start racing. In terms of the level of competition, it's just unmatched. It's unbelievable how competitive it is. I mean, I thought I was a pretty good college sailor. John Lowe, who I'm sailing with, was a really good college sailor. You look at all these top U.S. guys at this event had a solid college career, All-Americans, and then the international guys, you got people from all over. Guys like Chris Nicholson, who's, done a Volvo Ocean races, and you got America's Cup guys out here. It's just amazing, to be satisfied in a fleet like this with finishing 40th and not breaking something, I think, is a testament to the level of competition. It's really unmatched. It's something you're not going to see in a lot of other dinghy classes. And I guess I like the fact that the boat is a true dinghy. It's not skiff racing. It's definitely a similar feel to the stuff that a lot of the college sailors have done, the sailing they've done before they went to school in the Club 420s, that kind of thing. So as far as how long I'll be in the class, I can see myself sailing these my whole life or as long as I can. So definitely a lifer.
Well, it's been a lot of fun watching you. I look forward to the next few days and following this class over the next however long I do.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good to have you out here.
It's good to be here. Thanks, Craig.